dost thou sit upon my grave, and will dead lips to speak? Why dost thou weep upon my grave, and will not let me sleep? My breast, it is as cold as clay, my breath is earthly strong, and if you kiss my cold clay lips, your days, they won't be long. How oft on yonder grave, sweetheart, where we were wont to walk, the fairest flower that e'er I saw has withered to a stalk. When will we meet again, sweetheart? When will we meet again? When the autumn leaves that fall from trees are green and spring up again. How oft on yonder grave, sweetheart, where we were wont to walk, the fairest flower that e'er I saw has withered to a stalk.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to McStabber Studios. I just want to put this out here that right before we came live here, I was getting told by Tark there that I'm mean as a storyteller. So I'm planning to murder him slowly and horribly.
He's already dead.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, that's true. That is true. But we're planning to make sure he's murdered horribly. Don't worry again. So everyone knows, as you can see, of course, Tamshu and Evie Eternal couldn't make it tonight. It happens. Don't worry. They'll be here in the first episode, or I will physically go to their house and make sure that they are the Wraiths. So can't miss the first episode of the season.
I got sucked into the Tempest.
They were sucked into a knee hill. It's all good.
Yeah. I am, of course, the storyteller, Shanky McStabber.
I'm House, and I play Noah Whitman Frost.
I'm Urian, and I play Tark Tiernan.
Hi, I'm Ravinia, and I play Margot Fallon.
And I'm Rylyn Dare, also known as Mama or Bite Mommy McStabber, and I'm playing Alexis Langley.
And to start this off, I'm going to go, it's a brief summary of season 1, just to remind everybody about what happened. It started right before Christmas. 6 travelers on his train, because as Isaac the bartender would say, train, why not a train? But in the case of this 6 travelers, they each had their own reason to be going to Richmond. Unfortunately, they never made the destination. Outside of a little town called, now I've forgotten the name of the town. That is hilarious. It's 2 frogs on a bike, and it was the name of the building. Oh my God. Rylyn, what was the name of the town?
Hanover.
Hanover. Thank you. My brain is, this is why I record people.
And this is also because I'm a native of that area. So.
But it was right outside of Hanover where this train proceeded to crash. And that's happened. And the night they crashed, they found out what it was like to be dead. All of them. They almost got reaped by a group called the Deathmark Reapers, led by Mort. But seems a man named Thomas was there as well. And he took them to Two Frogs on a Bike to wait out the one bell maelstrom that lasted through the night. And through the course of the first season, they got to meet Thomas and found out how Thomas was a unique individual. We'll just say that. They met Prudence, of course, who was a colonial woman who had died in childbirth. They got to go and investigate the wreck where they had died. And it was during that first investigation of the train wreck where the very first individual got to meet one of their family members that were living still, which was Noah, who met his wife, who was a reporter on the scene, being forced to report on a train wreck her own husband had died in, which was painful, I think, for Noah. Well played by Dan, but painful for Noah. And then, of course, Noah proceeded to destroy his own fetter and get sucked into the very first harrowing of the season, which I think changed Noah in a lot of ways. Everyone thinks it changed Noah in a lot of ways. And we got to see what a harrowing was. And when he came back, he had a different opinion on what to do and why to do things, which was quite interesting, actually. They went and got to have a nice talk, an initial talk with Prudence, that they met a specter named the Voice, who seemed to know an awful lot about what was going on and had a grudge to pick with Thomas. And this is where, after speaking to the Voice, the circle of wraiths put together one of the first clues about things, that the Voice was actually old Barton, a friend of Thomas's who had gone missing. And he had gone missing by turning, obviously, into a specter. And it was at the same meeting where one of their number were taken prisoner. So off they ran to rescue him, while at the same time, Isaac had fled. He had gone looking to find the Midnight Express, to find a family member. And that is where the circle met Mort's gang, where they were told that they're going to be an object, they're going to be owned. And it was at this point where the rest of the circle showed up, and through some amazing negotiations by Alexis and some horrible rolls by the storyteller, a deal was worked out to not be taken and sold. But at the same time, they have a debt to pay.
Yeah, what's a few coins?
Yeah.
Made from the souls of the living, which is what it is, right? It was after this that...
I'll be right back. I need to tell my children to be quiet.
Yeah. It was after this that the circle got to actually have a more in-depth talk with Prudence. And this in-depth talk with Prudence is where they found out that Prudence used to be the Anacreon of Fate. She's one of Lady Fates. And each one of them is marked as well as Lady Fates, which I think was a shock to them. But they also found out that something had played with their fate. Their fate was not to die right at Hanover. Though I believe this circle later found out one way or another they died this night. It's just a question of where. And where they found that out is when they went to investigate at the hospital to check on their families, identifying the bodies. And that is where this circle found that there had been a bomb on the train. And it was set to blow up at the Richmond station right before Christmas, when all the families were coming into town. And that their deaths actually prevented a much bigger tragedy in what happened. But it's also in this place where they also found that Thomas had been behind it. Well, half of Thomas. It was his specter, his shadow, that did it. Sorry, he's not a specter. His shadow who had done this. But it was also where he became a specter in front of the player's eyes, and the characters got to see what becoming a specter means. Where we left off, of course, is where they'd been taken prisoner. But they went of their own accord, so they're not in chains. They get to walk on their own to Richmond to face trial for certain breaches of the dictum morum that was done. Some by Alexis, though how many people saw the one she did is a question. Margot, unfortunately, did one that was very visible to very many people. Noah's just happened. But it's a question of whether that one gets found out either. And I do not believe Tark had one that he did.
Well, other than messing with the helicopter, but you know.
But none of that was something that was obvious as spirit intervention. Even the erasing of the files on the computer.
Mm-mm.
That was him and Margot had both had a hand in.
Computers do that all the time.
Yeah. I don't think any of that was anything. So what we have now is, for the start of season 2 next week, will be this circle is traveling to Richmond under guard with the Legionnaires as they go to find their fate. Are they to be forged? Are they to be coins? Will they be slaves? That's where season 2 is going to start. And anybody in chat, in Twitch chat right now, you can, of course, if you got any questions, you can ask any questions of the cast or myself. But right now, I want, while we're looking for questions from the viewers out there, I want to go around the table and talk about what is your hopes for season 2? And we'll start with Noah, of course.
Of course, yes, me, Noah. That is who I play. I mean, there was a big bombshell at the end of the last one, knowing that there were other wraiths working against us and that there's more connections to, especially why Alexis and I died. So exploring that more, what the bureaucratic structure of this wraith world is, and Noah was all about uprooting corruption in his line of work, and he wonders what kind of corruption is going to be encountered in this big undead or dead government system.
That makes sense. It's a big unknown for all of you. And for, of course, Noah's the journalist. That's his nature, to want to figure it out and document and see things. So what about Tark? What is Tark hoping?
Oh, in the immediate future, he's hoping not to get turned into a coin or a link in a chain, and to keep Palmer away from his still wife on the other side of the veil. But in a larger sense, he's still trying to figure out, why, what the involvement of Pentex is, why the DoD felt it was kind of necessary for him to take a leave of absence, a permanent one.
And that's funny you bring that up, because that was one of the revelations, was that our Alexis recognized the timers used. They are DoD. They are CIA, actually, in NSA projects, not a homegrown, you're random run-in-the-mill, let's blow up a train people, which definitely puts a link to Tark. But Alexis and Noah have a lot of links with Pentex to worry about. And
indeed they do.
And Project Orpheus, the bunch of motherfuckers. Actually, Project Oedipus, of course. But Project Orpheus, the bunch of motherfuckers, because that's the long-standing joke.
Because at first he said Oedipus.
I still think it should be called Project Oedipus. I was denied.
They're motherfuckers.
My petition was denied.
So, and it's a good thing you bring up about Palmer and your wife in there, because you don't think it's the last you've seen of Palmer trying to put the moves on your special loved ones who are alive, because he is a dirty, rotten, smarmy son of a bitch. Mm-hmm. And Margot's got a whole list of things she's planning to do to him first chance she gets, just because he is all those things. Because he used to be one of her customers. And now that transitions right to Margot's plans for season 2.
Obviously, I don't want to get in too much trouble. I didn't know what was going on, but I know that doesn't count for anything in this bureaucracy. I still want to tell her that I love her, and I still want to get that ring to her. And I'll be honest, Margot's willing to do a lot to be able to accomplish that.
And it's funny you bring the ring up because I know during character creation, that was the intent, was that Margot was going to give the ring to Natalie.
Mm-hmm.
But as storyteller, that's not what happened, because when you die, only the loved ones get your personal effects.
Next of kin.
Next of kin, right. Sorry, next of kin. Not your assistant, at least not when your husband shows up. Even if you were planning to leave your husband and no longer for him to have that. But that's not what happens when you die before it goes on. The only one here who didn't have all of the personal effects turned over was Alexis, whose badge was missing. Which transitions now to Alexis.
Conveniently located in her former partner's front pocket. Oh, Alexis. She's a hot fucking mess. She's a high functioning hot fucking mess, but she is definitely a hot fucking mess. What I want to see with her is I definitely want to kind of gear her towards being able to utilize Buchanan more. There is a mechanic actually in the game that I've discussed with Shanky that I'm wanting to pursue with her in relations to Buchanan, as a living person that she can basically be attached to, that she can utilize from time to time.
And that particular system is called the consort system, and it'll be a good time for the viewers and players. Speaking of that real quick, and then I'll let you go back to what you're doing. When Alexis does it, of course, she won't realize what she's doing as a character.
Right.
Which means I'll get to explain it to the players and the viewers at the same time about what a consort is.
Mm-hmm. And definitely wanting to pursue more of the Pentex rabbit hole that she was on in life, because she was not one to ever let a case run cold. So basically that's basically what she wants to go after. But first, the immediate concern is the fallout from the entire group realizing that Alexis pretty much got them all killed, and mitigating damage from that. And
you didn't get them all killed, though. You got Noah killed for sure.
Yeah, everyone on the train. Alexis feels guilty for 76 souls that lost their lives on that fucking train.
But was and there's the explosive thing we haven't established yet. Was the explosive to kill you and Noah only? Or as Tark feels that
he was responsible. Yeah, so there's a lot of guilt going around this group, okay? And those that don't feel guilt feel anger. So yeah, there's going to be some fallout. So mitigating damage from that's going to be fun. Definitely finding our place within the society of Richmond is going to be an interesting thing to pursue for Alexis, because she's definitely going to do her damnedest to make sure we don't end up as, basically thralls. So yeah, just a few things I want to do with her in season 2. Not much. I have a laundry list.
As storyteller, my goals for season 2 are, there's 2 different goals. One is to show the viewers what life in the hierarchy is like, because as we've pointed out before, ultimately we're playing Wraith because we find it fun. But one of the goals of the stream is to allow people who haven't played Wraith or don't know the world to learn the world through watching. And one of the things is to show now you've seen what it's like being a renegade. You're outside the system. You're afraid of the system because if they come looking, they will take you. There's nothing small groups of renegades can do against the legions. That's simple numbers. And now they're going to find out what it means to be in the city, in the hierarchy, what the hierarchy is. And that is, as a storyteller to the viewers, that's one of my goals. Now to the players, I can't wait to see their reaction to what it is to be in the hierarchy, because most of the players in this game have not read any of the book. Some know more than others. Some have read bits. Some have read the whole thing, but some have not. And it's going to be very interesting to do it. And as a storyteller, it's always going to be Shanky's take on what living in the hierarchy is. So that may not match exactly what they've read anyway. And I think that's one of my goals. I think I'm aiming for a little less tear your heart out in every episode, because now that they've gotten past you've identified the body, but it's going to be more of that impending dread kind of horror where they're constantly worried about, are they going to fuck up and be destroyed? Are they going to fuck up and be forged? Are they going to fuck up and something happens? Or are they going to be unable to save those they love? Which is going from I'm going to tear your heart out kind of story to the fear of, what if you can't protect those you love?
To high key paranoid all the time.
What if you can't, what if you can't save those you care most about? Trapped to watch them and nothing you can do. So.
For all we know, Aurora is still alive, is all I'm saying.
We'll get back. We'll go to that one. Hang on. Let's get the first question.
The first question was, and Artemis, if you are a follower, you should be accumulating points in chat. If you have enough, please highlight your questions, because as questions come in, it's hard to see if they're just straight to chat. What's the one thing you love about the character changes you made between the seasons?
Who's going to answer that one first?
I mean, are we allowed to be fully transparent with the changes we've made?
You can reveal anything you feel is important to the character, because I will let the viewers know we did make changes between season based on when we made the characters. Nobody had played this. I had never run it. We built them a certain way. But as in any game, when you play the game, your character evolves. And in our case, it evolved in ways that, frankly, none of the players expected. For each of them had differences. And so between seasons, we went back and looked at the characters to tweak them closer to what we saw evolved. So nothing you've seen in season 1 is going to appear different in season 2. No glaring changes where suddenly everything's different. But now I will let Noah, if he chooses to answer, he can reveal as much as he wants.
I mean, I spoke first last time. I'll have someone else go.
Okay, I'll go first.
Yeah.
I actually love, as I actually play Noah's shadow, I love the changes that we made to the shadow character that I'm going to be playing for Noah, because I was kind of having a bit of difficulty finding my footing with the persona I was supposed to have for him due to his own changes after his harrowing. So basically we ended up between seasons, we changed from, I believe it wasn't the director.
You were the director before.
I was the director. Yes. Okay. Basically, and it basically just didn't fit, because after he came back from his harrowing, he was like legit paranoid about everything at that point and was like really trying not to mess up. So basically it was kind of hard to get under his skin with the director type persona. So what I ended up, he and I discussed it and stuff, and we came to the conclusion that it'd be best if I portrayed a Stormcrow instead. So basically I get to take Noah's base paranoia that he got from that harrowing and drive it up to 11. And I'm like, that's going to be so much fun. That's going to be so much fun.
So she had changed
Glad you think
the
so.
shadow part. And there's the beauty of this game is that there's not just their character, there's their shadows.
Mm-hmm.
And she's made changes to the shadow part.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you did make changes to Alexis as well.
I did. I tweaked on her some of her feathers because it just didn't make sense. What I created at character creation didn't make sense once we started telling the story we were telling. So I tweaked a few things. Buchanan is actually one of her feathers now. And basically I just refined them a little bit to be more appropriate to the things we may interact with. And then I also changed a few of her passions because some of them really didn't add up anymore either, based on how the story went. So now she's basically wanting to protect her children. She's wanting to protect Buchanan because she feels like he's a target. And because he's also basically Alexis was a good FBI agent. She was one of those that sought to uproot corruption, to have the guilty punished, to basically, do her job and do it well. And Buchanan was cut of the same cloth. They were partners for many years and they worked very well together. But she knows that now that he's getting all these bits and pieces about this case, that he's not going to let it go. and she wants to protect him. Also, I did enhance her character sheet a little bit. I gave her some more persuasion because she seems to be kind of a bit of a face, at least with negotiations and interrogations and stuff like that for the group. So I gave her a bit more persuasion and also a specialization in browbeating, which seems to be her style after that negotiation with the slavers, as she calls them.
And the changes to Buchanan are solely because when she created the character, she didn't picture a whole storyline based on Buchanan having a thing for her. That was something her storyteller came up with.
Yeah. Yeah. So because Shanky came up with a great story hook, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to run with that.
But we talked about it before. I said, well, because as a storyteller, one of the things you do is you got to make sure it's not my story, it's the player's story. So there's certain aspects I even brought up to her. I said, well, how did you feel about if Buchanan had a thing for you and he couldn't act on it because, well, he's a professional.
Yeah,
and
no
she thought about it, and she's like,
and she was
what?
married and everything else, so it was complicated.
Yeah, she's like, okay, I like that idea. We can run with that. And that's the detail she got. She didn't get any other details. She didn't know how it was going to come out in game or, the fact he was going to take her badge and keep it from her son and all that. But these are the kind of things as a storyteller that wants to make sure it's the player's story, not mine. These are the kind of things you talk about what they're exploring as a character. So who's next?
I can go next, I guess. There's actually not a whole lot of changes for Tark. What we did do with the character sheets and the shadow was just align them better with some of the archetypes that are part of Wraith. As they just turned out, we were playing them during the whole season. Originally, my shadow nature was Stormcrow, but that's not really how I ended up playing it with Margot. It ended up being more of a perfectionist. So I changed it to that.
And that was one of the biggest changes. I think almost everyone had a tweak to the shadow. Not Noah, of course, or Aurora's shadow did not change because it was perfectly built for that one. Tark's shadow didn't change, at least for the archetype, because that was perfectly done. But as the people played shadow, they realized that the manifestation of the shadow's interaction with the player wasn't matching the archetypes at the beginning. And they tweaked those.
Right.
Okay, so who's going to go next?
I can. Not a ton of changes. Like I said, there's no way in hell I'm changing Aurora's shadow. No, I'm very happy with how that's going. As far as Noah, I think we changed his demeanor from loner to penitent. Noah feels a lot of guilt for a lot of things, both in living and death. I added some dots to bureaucracy. I think the big change is I had inhabit as an arcanoid, and I really didn't use it, or I didn't use it. So I replaced that with keening, because I don't think that's an ability set that anyone else has utilized. And we have 2 people who can inhabit. And because of that, I upped the performance a few dots as well. So those are really the big changes.
All because you sang a song.
Expect Dan to be singing more.
Yep. But in a lot of ways it made sense. I had told the players, if you hadn't used one of your powers, there's no reason if you want to change it not to, because you haven't shown it. Technically, you can claim he hasn't even manifested it yet.
Yeah, and Alexis actually has one that she has not been able to use yet, but I actually am looking forward to being able to use it in season 2 because it's one that I specifically wanted her to have. And
you're going to see more of that because there's less focus on you just died and more focus on things as a whole. They'll get to see more of that. And the change, the funny thing about you talking about your change of your demeanor, Noah, even had you started with a different one, the fact that the harrowing changed how you role played the character for the whole rest of the season, you had a valid change to make of your demeanor from sheer role play, because you can change your demeanor after character creation, but you have to role play it.
And can I just say that was freaking magnificently done?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The whole rest of the season, his demeanor was different. He played a loner the first episode. You did. Mm-hmm. And then after that harrowing, your demeanor
changed. It was
changed.
like a switch went off, and it was like, holy hell, look at him just carry that.
So you would have been able to change it no matter what, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, just like you guys, like, no one else has gone through that. So
Right.
it's like,
You guys don't
he's like,
understand.
I don't want you to have to deal with that. It's not good.
Yeah.
Stop messing around with things that we have zero comprehension of.
And now we get to Margot.
And now we get to Margot. You
Who is
mess-
an agent of chaos.
who messes with a lot of things she doesn't know about.
What does this button do? What does this do? What's going on here?
Stop touching stuff.
You're not my real dad.
And see, for all the serious and dark parts of Wraith when we stream the actual episodes, as you can see behind the scenes, we're not all a bunch of dark.
And we
serious
all like
individuals.
each other.
Yeah.
But
except for
when
Tam.
we're live or when we're in an episode and we're in character,
Mm-hmm.
it's a totally different group sitting here, which is what I love to watch the switch.
Mm-hmm.
So, Margot's, what else you got?
All right. Well, one of the biggest changes was to Margot's nature. We actually, originally her nature was a rebel, and that just wasn't playing right. It just wasn't coming through like it should have. So we actually flipped it and made the rebel her demeanor, because that's what she's putting out towards everyone. But we changed her nature to contrary, which I think is
Very
Much
accurate.
Very accurate. Yep.
accurate, because she's one of those people that's like, if you do this, this'll happen. You sure? You really sure?
she's
No, I'm
she's
not
the devil's
sure.
advocate in everything. She's like, really?
Yeah.
But what about this?
Yeah. What about?
And
I'm
will
not
speak-
sure of anything.
I will speak for Isaac. He had a change to his. His original demeanor was Joker.
Mhm.
And while he made some jokes, that's not the way it came out as we played. His character was actually, we switched him to penitent because of all the bad choices he's made in life. He really role played out, showing that he's come to realize that his bad choices in life followed him after death. And that's a very interesting switch there. So I support all the changes. We did them as a group for everyone to talk about it so that we could all discuss changes to the back parts of the back end of it, and to make sure that everything seemed to fit. So I'm glad we did it that way, because sometimes it takes getting everybody's input to really discuss the way the role play turned out and the story turned out. So
I think one thing I'm really excited about playing off of, like, I also upped, I think the big arcana I'm going to focus on is Noah is fatalism. If I were to say so now, like the danger sense that he calls it in game, even though that's not what power is called, but just like how he would refer to it, like that just adds like to the paranoia. Like if he uses it and doesn't get like and fails and something bad happens, that's just more paranoid. Like,
And that shadow is not
where the
ever going to
hell-
let you live that down. Look,
Where the-
look, we're now.
when does this thing work now?
mhm. Yeah, it's funny because that actually fits your backstory as a journalist. One of the big things journalists will tell you is their instincts,
Mm-hmm.
and to know his danger sense, that is his instincts. He's trying to hone that,
Yep.
but
Mm-hmm.
instincts can be wrong, and they have been a few times.
Okay, we have another question.
Okay.
Artemis asks, do we ever get to find out what happened to the missing bodies?
Well, I mean, there's only really one missing body, and that was Aurora's.
Uh-huh.
And that's
No,
the
she's
argument is he's alive, or she's alive. And I will say, that was a story choice that was made based solely on Noah asking for the help of Mort Shadow to help him out with making her think that she's still alive. And will you find out what happened to the body? Yes, eventually. The body didn't just go poof. Bodies don't just go poof. Something was done with the body.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to find out what it was. And yeah, trust me, you'll find out. I don't know when. You may find it in season 2. You may not find it out for a while. because the plan is we'll do season 2 of hierarchy stuff. And if we cover enough of the hierarchy and the players decide to go Stygia, season 3 will be Stygia. Otherwise, Stygia may have to wait till season 4. But eventually, we're going to do some Stygia stuff. And when you do Stygia, that also brings up the Labyrinth and the Tempest discussions. And there may be hints about her body that comes later on. We just have to wait and see. Anyone else got some questions? Let's get some more questions in there.
I'll ask one while we wait for some viewer question. What are everyone's characters' current views on the other players' characters? Like where do they stand? Like
Time to throw shade.
How does Alexis view Margot and Noah and Tark, etc.?
Yeah, shade throwing time is here. Let's do some shade.
Not necessarily. Like it might be very positive. Like everyone should have very positive views of Noah.
Alexis feels that Margot has a very big heart that she keeps wrapped up in barbed wire. And she feels like she can be a little bit impulsive, but that it's not necessarily a bad thing. Her impulses tend to be to protect others. It just kind of has to be reined in a little bit because she's not thinking about the consequences. But really, I mean, her opinion of Margot is not a negative one. She sees the good in Margot. Aurora, batshit crazy. Batshit fucking crazy. She's
Wait a minute, to spin off of that real quick.
Yeah.
What did you think? Yeah, Aurora batshit crazy. What about the armor?
The armor was badass, but that just confirmed batshit crazy. So she's so fucked up, she's got to wear armor to protect herself from everything around her. But yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of baggage in that one. But yeah, let's see. Tark. Really fucking smart. Really fucking smart. Still a little unsure overall about him, but really fucking smart for sure. Noah, at times insufferable, but useful. This is all from Alexis's standpoint.
Oh, yeah.
And then Isaac, honestly, a good guy. So that would be Alexis's perception of everyone. Now, of course, her thoughts on herself, well, she'll keep those close to the chest. But yeah.
Okay, who wants to share their opinion next?
I could go next. I haven't gone next in a bit. When it comes to, well, let's just say Noah's a bit insufferable in Margot's opinion. It's, don't do that. Stop doing that. It's, what do you think you're doing? Oh, that just usually means he wants me to stop. I'm going to ignore that. But she understands where he's coming from. She just doesn't want to listen to that right now. That's just the honest truth there. When it comes to Tark, yeah, he seems pretty smart. He seems real quiet, real cagey. Also, she definitely feels like there's a lack of fucking spine there. And she definitely is worried that that's going to cause problems later. Isaac seems nice but snappy at times. He's kind of got shit going on, and Margot doesn't really know him that well yet. So it's just confusing. It's like, first off, he's kind of joking around and having fun, and then all of a sudden it's absolute moroseness, and it's like pick which way. I don't know what you're.
It's almost like Isaac has a bit of bipolar to his personality.
Mm-hmm. Which makes Margot a little bit not exactly walking on eggshells, but she's a little tentative with him. Alexis seems to know absolutely what she's doing. 100%, she seems very sure of herself. But Margot has seen people like that before, and it's usually a steel wall to keep the nougaty center from crumbling through. Aurora, well, as we've already discussed, Margot was a fan of her books beforehand. And she sees the creative energy there, but Margot feels like Aurora's just a little lost. It's like she's going through the stages of grief in extremely slow motion.
Okay, so that leaves either Noah or Tark.
I'll go.
Okay.
I think with Tark, he's of the other five, he's who Noah trusts most. But ironically, that makes him wonder what he's missing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's something about this guy. Like, I shouldn't trust this guy as much as I do. What am I missing? With Alexis, it's like he just feels like they want the exact same thing, but like they're just on like slightly different wavelengths that are just gonna kind of keep bumping into each other as things go along. They might intersect at points and things work great. They might cross, like wires might cross the wrong way and go badly, but like ultimately the direction is the same. Margot, it's going to take some time. Yeah, they're just different people. And especially after the harrowing, the fly by the seat of your pants, not taking any cautions versus Noah's hyper caution. It's oil and water at this point. Yeah, I don't know if he necessarily thinks Aurora is crazy. Like, he understands people are coping however they want. If like thinking she's alive is helping her get through this, like he's not going to judge that. He is freaked. The armor stuff freaks him out because like like she's literally morphing her body. Like that terrifies him more than like the thinking she's alive stuff. And Isaac, I think it's just he just knows it's a shell. Like everything's a defense mechanism. So until he's ready to open up a little bit, he's going to kind of keep Isaac at a little bit of a distance. But there's nothing inherently about Isaac that makes him concerned yet.
And I guess that leaves Tark.
Who, me?
Yeah, you're Tark. Last I checked, you're Tark. I'm not positive, but I think you're Tark.
Okay. It's hard to tell all these different characters. Particularly when you try to get into them, you know. I'll start with Aurora. He feels she's naive because her either reluctance or inability to accept what's actually happened to her, that she's dead. But it is a little endearing to just see how she's trying to cope with it. Alexis is like the consummate professional, and she's always on top of the game. I mean, he looks to Alexis to see which way they should be going. He does trust her quite a bit. Noah, he likes Noah a lot, and he'd like to get to know him a lot better. He's a little. He finds it kind of weird how reluctant I don't know. Reluctant really isn't the right word, but about everything. Like, don't touch anything, don't do anything, don't breathe on anything.
How hesitant and
Yes, that's
overly
the word.
cautious.
Yeah, that's it. Isaac, well, he knew him a bit in life before we got killed, and since he knows him a little bit. I mean, just this kind of surface knowing somebody you see for drinks on a train. But he feels kind of sorry for him because he knows that he's got a lot going on in his life that doesn't seem to show to anybody else. He likes him a lot, but he knows that he's troubled and that it may cause trouble for all of us. And Margot, he doesn't know what the hell to make of her. He really doesn't.
Your characters are definitely, your stories and your personalities are definitely foreign to each other, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's, our lives would not have intersected. So he's having a little trouble processing and getting her exactly, but he's working on it.
Did you say your feeling on Alexis?
Yeah, he did. He
did,
said he
okay.
trusted her, that she's a consummate professional, and he kind of looks to her for guidance on which direction they should go.
But just wait. Just wait. Yeah.
Just wait. She's a hot fucking mess.
Yeah. There is
Yeah,
one
but we
thing
don't
I'd
know
like
that.
to add.
Go ahead.
There's obviously a lot of anger and frustration with some of the developments. Because I don't know if y'all have watched the series, you knew that Margot was going home to actually propose to the woman she loved and divorce her husband. So it was supposed to be new beginnings and not this kind of beginning. So there is some rage, and it's kind of, can I yell at these people for kicking over the hornet's nest and actually, investigating and trying to right wrongs, even though it cost me my good life?
I get that because Alexis was also starting a new page in her life as well. And that was taken from her. So yeah, there's some of that, why the fuck did this have to happen? Kind of, rage, why me? That's a common thing I'm sure a lot of the characters are feeling is why me? Now Noah may not, because he probably always felt like this was going to end up getting him killed. But
yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth.
Yeah.
I think, why Claire? Why his wife? Why did this happen to her?
Right.
Like, you hit the nail on the head.
Yeah,
he's like, the more he kept digging, despite what happened to him in his backstory, he thought this was going to get him killed, whether he killed himself through a drink or got, in a train accident.
Yeah. Like Alexis, she has this little tiny bit of a small hero complex in her head. And she really thought she could win. She really thought she could nail the bad guy and win.
You mean like jumping off a building?
Exactly. So that was me showing she's got this little bit of a hero complex, And so, yeah.
And as storyteller, I did not expect Verlaine to have her character dive off the building. Knowing how her character is, I should have expected it.
It was true to fucking character.
But I didn't expect that. I was prepared for it, but I didn't expect it.
Oh, but yeah, no, I think you've hit a common emotion at the table, Nikki. I really do, because a lot of us feel like we got gypped.
Mm-hmm.
That what we wanted was right within our grasp and it was snatched from us. And that is rage inducing. And I fully expect that there will be some rage come out. I really do, especially from Margot, who tends to be a bit temperamental. And yeah. And that's why I'm like, okay, we want to mitigate some of that fallout because that's going to be bad.
And it will.
Yeah. All right. And then Astral has a question for the cast. What aspect of your characters do you most identify with? Let's have Margot first.
Oh, shoot.
Margot first.
Margot first.
And the puns start.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Do I get $200 for pass and go? Sorry. I couldn't help it. It was all
No, but if you want, I can turn you into a coin.
Oh, no. I'd rather go to war. But let's see. The Margot is a lot of things that I'm not, but there is one thing that Margot and me share is, besides, trauma and crap like that, it's that honest bluntness. It's like, I'm going to tell you how I feel, and you can totally trust it's 100% the truth of how I feel about what's going on right now. Now, that could change, 30 minutes from now, but I'm just going to tell you what it's like, what it is, and there you go. So that's the main, I think.
That's what you identify with, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Really is, actually.
What about Tark?
The engineer part. Because that's what I am.
Yeah, that's definitely a part of who you are that you've carried over.
And for Noah?
That's a good question. Like, there's little bits, but I think Noah is very different than I am in a lot of ways. I mean, beyond the fact that like I studied journalism in school, like I'm not a journalist, but I think just the little bits of levity you see from Noah is probably where I most identify with. Not that the jokes were on purpose, it just finding those moments to kind of lighten the air a little bit is probably the best thing that that comes to mind right now.
For Alexis, I would have to say that I think what I identify most with her is her determination. That is something that I know I am noted for, that once I decide I'm going to do something, there is nothing, neither hell nor high water, that can stop me. So basically, that's something I really identify in Alexis, is that determination that she seems to approach just about everything with. Yeah. Dan does have to leave shortly, so I'm going to, Astral, I saw you had a question for Shanky. We will get back to that.
Dana Ducat has one right above it.
Oh, okay.
What is the most horrifying aspect of your new life in the underworld to your character? That's a good one.
That is a good one.
Despite the harrowing, which was terrifying, like that's self-explanatory. It's the people coins. That is the most horrifying concept to me right now of all the stuff we've encountered in game. Like that is disturbing.
Coins that moan and cry, and you can break into pieces, and they merge with other coins that may not be from the same wraith. That is.
I would say for me, it was the drones, because Alexis was able to actually remember the moment of her death in season 1, and it wasn't pleasant. It was very traumatic. And basically to have to relive that moment for all eternity, that was terrifying to her.
So we have Tark and Margot, most terrifying parts.
Oh, I was agreeing with Noah on that.
Oh, the coin?
Yeah. And just the things that souls can be forged into, that, you're stuck there forever.
That is a horrifying thought.
Yeah.
And Junie had a question.
Hang on, Margot
Margaret, I'm sorry. I apologize.
It's okay. I think the thing that is crazy enough, that's just frustrating and terrifying, is that there's a freaking bureaucracy on this side. I mean, the coins are terrible. That is like the most horrifying thing, that souls are melted down and forged into things is just, but the fact that there's people telling you what to do, what not to do, people have jobs on this side and all that. Don't you want to get away from that when you die? Come on.
I can see that would bother Margot, because it's the thought of, okay, I died. I thought this is the afterlife. Holy shit. You're saying I have to go and push papers and fucking I mean, what the hell? We're dead. Why do we have jobs?
Times might change, purse crying.
Yeah.
Okay, and then as I said, Astral, we'll get back to your storyteller question. I want to try to get through cast questions first before Dan has to leave. Junie did ask, now you have gone through a season of Wraith. Do you enjoy the system, and how would you rate it among other World of Darkness systems?
As storyteller, I will say this one. This is easy for me. I like the system. I've already mentally figured out how I can convert it to the same kind of risk management as V5 rather than resource management. But I like the system, and I've made it no secret I'm not a fan of a lot of some of the splats from World of Darkness. Vampire is my favorite, and Wraith is my number 2.
I mean, I've only ever played the 2 games I stream in on this channel, World of Darkness with Haunted Chronicles and Wraith.
Chronicles is Chronicles of Darkness, which is...
Yeah. Sorry,
that's
spinoff. That's what I meant.
It's a spinoff,
yeah. That's what I meant.
New World of Darkness is what it used to be called.
Right. Yeah. But, and they're both a lot of fun to play in. I think that the Shadow, how we've developed the Shadow feature, at least within our own game, edges it out a little bit, as Wraith being the one I've liked the most. But I could play in a different game. If I were to play a different game of Wraith, different people, I play a different kind of Shadow, that could change. I think I'm very happy with the character and Shadow I've come up with, which might sway it a little bit.
And Dan, if you do need to cut out, you can.
Yeah, I'll let you know.
Okay.
And so, Lance, you're like me. We're not like me, but you're closer to Dan, where you've only really played 2 of the World of Darkness.
Right. Yeah, thing. I'm pretty new to the World of Darkness, having played only Vampire and Wraith. I like Vampire better a bit because, well, that's what I've played the most. I like Wraith too. I'll have to play a little bit longer before I can say I can really choose a favorite, but at the moment, it's Vampire that I like better.
Okay.
I would say Margot and Alexis are left.
Go ahead, Nikki.
Okay.
I'll do last so I can go into the next question.
I love World of Darkness no matter what it is. It's got a special place in my soul. I mean, my favorite's going to be Werewolf, as you all know. But I like the Shadow mechanic. I was really nervous about it because I had never found a table that actually would play Wraith. They're like, oh, this is wicked cool to read and know about, but no, I don't want to play that. Because I think the best way to describe it is it feels like there's a level of emotional maturity that you have to have, because you have to be able to put things aside and realize, oh, I'm playing a character. I'm not actually, beating up on Tam.
And I've brought it up to people before. There's another part of it too that, everyone talks about, it's about, when you're playing these games, it's about telling a story. But when you have the Shadow mechanic, it's not just about telling the story. You've got to be able to tell the story with a Shadow that is deliberately trying to destroy your character's story and the story of the other characters at the table. And you've got to be able to play that in a way that undermines the overall story being told, because that's what they do. And that's very difficult for a lot of people to separate and to play.
Mm-hmm. And what I wouldn't say Wraith is my absolute favorite, but Wraith has made me grow in roleplay terms exponentially because I've been having to do that. And that's really what I appreciate about Wraith.
Don't mean to cut you off, Alex. I do actually need to run now. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Sorry, Dan has to go, but
night,
that's the way it is.
Dan.
Yep. Good night, Dan. Thank you so much for spending what time you had.
Mean stuff now. Thank you.
Okay, Dan sucks. Oh, sorry, he hasn't left yet. Shit. And once he drops, I'll fix cameras.
Yeah, he'll fix cameras, and we'll get back to the question.
Yep.
Oh, Noah, what a bitch.
We'll let Relyn do the question while I do the camera.
Okay, well, so I basically rank Wraith. I mean, I do love playing the game. I would probably rank it in my top 3 for World of Darkness because I've played almost all the World of Darkness splats now except for Mage, I think. So basically I have a variety to choose from here. And I would say it's probably in my top 3. My first one, of course, being Vampire. It is so much fun playing a bad guy like that. It really is. And that's something I could play week after week after week without getting burned out. The second would probably be Changeling. I really enjoy the stories that can be told within that setting because I have a fascination with fairy tales and folklore. So the fact that you can build stories in game around themes like that is really fun for me. And then the third would be Wraith. Wraith is something that gives me a really strong sense of catharsis when I play. I get I'm able to pour out a lot of my own emotional things into Wraith while I'm role playing the characters I'm playing. It also, like Nikki, it has really improved my role play. To have to manage accurately playing 2 characters. That has made me have to step up my game. And it's been magnificent. And I'm glad that I was able to get the players that are at this table because all of them are amazing role players. And I've been able to draw from the experience of playing with them to build my role play skills. So but I will say that Wraith overall, I'm not going to say I'd want to play in just anybody's Wraith game, but I'll play in a Shanky Wraith game any damn day. You're muted.
I will say that's one thing about Wraith is very, I mean, every game is dependent on the table involved, but in the case of Wraith, it is quite a bit more dependent than usual because there's that level of trust that you have to have. And that's the reason I say that most people will never get to play it because it's hard to find the right table group and the right storyteller and the right combination. And I don't consider myself anything special, but apparently I have a knack for running Wraith.
You have a knack for emotional games. You really do. You have a knack for finding the vulnerability in the player characters at your table and really working those vulnerabilities. And that's what I like about Wraith and even Vampire, because Vampire is also a game that deals with the character's vulnerabilities. And so basically, I love the way you storytell those games because you really pick up on that and you do it masterfully and subtly. So, yeah.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
So there's a lot coming. I mean, I took that 20-year break, so I still consider myself rusty compared to I can say I'm a better storyteller now than I ever was before the 20-year break, but I'm still rusty in some of my particular parts of how I do things. But yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go back to Astral's storyteller question. He has a question for Shanky. You described a little bit about where season 2 is headed with the hierarchy. Would you be able to expand upon that for the viewers, or is that cards too close to the chest?
No, I can expand some of it. One of the key points we've got to establish with the hierarchy is the power structure, because the power structure is unique for each of the groups between the heretics, the renegades, and the hierarchy. And there is a defined power structure for Stygia. And it's an interesting pecking order that this group has to learn because it's nothing like what they were used to in life. And then there's also, you throw in the guilds, which I will say, we're not going to go on stream a lot into them joining the guild, because when you have 6 players, each of them with 3 Arcanos, at least 3, some have more than 3 that they've learned, you're looking at 18 or more, you're joining the guild conversations. And we really, that could be a whole season just for that. And that's not what we want to focus on, but you will get, the politics of the guild will come up. What the guild means, what it means to be in competing guilds, that will come up. But not the actual application of, you've got to join the guild, because now that we're done season 1, we'll have more time skips, which will allow us to have this covered. And then the other part, the alienness in some ways of Dead in the hierarchy. This coterie has not yet got to experience the fact that everybody wears masks. It is very rare for a wraith to be in a hierarchy city without a mask on. That is one of the first things that most wraiths do. But where do you create the masks from? How are masks created? Yeah, circle, not coterie. Sorry. But how are masks created? Well, there's various ways to make them. But some of them are made from...
Do they scream?
Some of them are made from souls. Because there's limited materials.
Yeah.
Now, you've always assumed race join one guild. No, Lashote. There are multiple guilds for each arcani, and you can join multiples. Now, you do get the problem of conflicting loyalties at time with that, and but some guilds are allied with others.
And some guilds are flat out banned.
Right, and some are banned. Now, on the banned part, I'm going to go into more detail about the banned part because a number of this circle here chose banned arcani. One in particular has 2 banned arcani.
She has 2.
But there's banned and then there's banned. Some are banned, but
still used.
It's kind of, it's banned, you know. But some of them are, yeah, fuck, cut that shit, you know.
Yeah, that would be mine.
That's going to be an interesting one to go with. So we're going to touch a lot more on what it means to be a wraith in the structured society and what it means to be trapped in a society where, I mean, these people, they're on the low part of the totem pole.
We're the newbies.
Yeah. But what does it mean? Even though wraiths have jobs a lot of times because that's how the hierarchy works. What do you do when you have downtime? It's not like you need to eat. You don't need to drink.
You don't really need to sleep
unless you're healing. So what do you do when you're not doing whatever your job is? What do you fill your time with eternity?
Pursuing your personal passions.
And that's where you're going to see a lot of. And how do you do that in a city like the hierarchy?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
yeah.
It's an interesting concept. So that's what I'm hoping to explore. But ultimately, the characters are going to decide a hell of a lot of shit to explore that I may not know that they're going to explore because it is their story. It's not mine. It is theirs. I've got ideas, but I generally build the story around the players, not the other way around. It's one of the things I will say that Lynn didn't bring up about me is that my firm belief is it is not my story. I try not to railroad it all, but actions have consequences, and I try to make it a breathing city around them. But ultimately, the story that gets told is not my story. It's not for me to decide. It's for them to decide.
I will actually concur with that yes, that is another reason why I play just about in every game Shanky runs, because as a storyteller or GM, he very much values player agency and player-driven stories. He very much wants the players to tell the story they want to tell, but he's there to ensure that their actions have consequences, that the world exists irrespective of them, and can be influenced by the choices they make. And even no choice is a choice. So, yeah, basically, I love that because it feels like he has built a sandbox for me, and I get to build my castles, destroy them, and rebuild them if I want, you know, and I love that. So that's a lot of fun. Okay, Artemis had a question. Is there a chance to fix or resolve some of the issues left unresolved from their lives? Or has the story moved beyond that in the grand scheme, such as will Nat ever get her ring?
As storyteller, my statement on that is if Margot wants Nat to get the ring, she's going to have to find a way to get the ring to Nat. It's not for me to decide that. It is for Margot and the rest of her circle. Can she find a way to get the ring from the husband that was an asshole that she hates to the woman she loved? And in a way that does not put her fetter in jeopardy. And that's up to her. She's already said earlier she hopes to, but she needs to find a way. And I can think of several ways, but I'm not telling them. Yep.
It is a goal.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think it's going to be one you need the whole circle to get to do.
I think so. And that's going to be the problem because the way Margot would want to do it is I'm going to haunt this fucker until he does it. And that's not going to work.
But just haunting him won't necessarily make him give it to her because how do you how do you impart that it's supposed to go to her, to him? The mortal minds, the quick, as they're called by the wraiths, they don't accept that there's the existence of wraiths for most of them. And anything you do to directly change that, a lot of them will forget or explain away in any way that doesn't acknowledge the dead are there. So it's going to be difficult. And Lishote brings up puppetry. But you're talking dangerous abilities.
Yes.
And some of the abilities this circle does not have yet.
Right.
And they have a ways to go to learn this. And skin riding somebody is a dictum morum breach.
Yes.
For a circle that has already been caught once.
Yeah.
So if they get out of this particular
we
situation...
might be able to get a wrist slap for the first offense, but if we keep offending, it's going to be trouble.
And I do understand that the dictum morum, it's lip service to a lot of wraiths because, let's be honest, whether you can get away with doing it or not is whether you piss off the wrong individuals. Mm-hmm. But it's already been made apparent that this group is involved in a power play of some sort because they're marked by Lady Fate and someone else is trying to already claim them for their legion. When even Prudence warned them that they're the ladies. Politics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would have to say for Alexis, part of her resolution of life's bullshit is kind of I've decided to kind of toss it by the wayside. The whole thing with her and her divorcing her husband, I mean, he got served while she was on the train before the train crashed with his divorce papers. She had already made all the arrangements to make sure her life insurance and everything, basically estate-wise, would go to her kids and not her husband. And it's basically he's fucked anyway. So there's really, and plus he's not in Richmond. He was in the DC area, so it's not really something that we could actively pursue in the game. So I just decided, fuck it. She posthumously got hers because he got fucked when he thought he was going to get all her shit because they were still officially married. Yeah. So.
But going back to that discussion, what do you think about Buchanan? What is Buchanan going to do about your served husband? Because that came out in season 1.
Yeah.
That the pictures that
came from him
that Alexis received in the mail that showed her husband was cheating on her. Mm-hmm. Alexis never knew who they came from until she found out through people using Inhabit of all things that it came from her ex-partner who had apparently been gathering these up.
Yeah. Because in my backstory, she had hired a private investigator. But, it was...
But that was a change that was made later.
But yeah, so basically, that's something that we will have to play out and see how that goes. Because Alexis is still kind of getting over the whole shock of that situation with Buchanan. She might have had some feelings for him too, but of course... never let those surface because she was married. She was a professional. She wasn't going to fraternize. But yeah, and she takes her commitments very seriously. But yeah, so basically we'll just have to see how that goes because I think that's intriguing and we definitely should see how, if Alexis can use some of the powers that she hasn't been able to use yet, maybe they can sit down and have a conversation about that.
What about Tart? You got any?
Well, death has changed his perspective on a lot of things. A lot of it may go by the wayside. He still wants, if he can, somehow to influence, to make sure, his children prosper in their lives. His daughter following his work, his son becoming something.
Other than a Twitch streamer, which I think was an interesting tongue-in-cheek joke, of course.
Yep. But that's something that'll have to get explored later because right now we're not in a position to work that part of the story.
As we're going to find out in season 2, here's a little bit of a spoiler. Tark has a haunt already in Richmond. It hasn't come up because they weren't in Richmond. But Tark actually is going to find out there's a haunt. Now, to have a haunt, there has to be a reason for a haunt, which means there is already activity there. Because that's how a haunt is defined, is it's had ghosts in it, have invested their own energy in it to the point where it becomes a haunt. So the question is, who's been residing in his family's ancestral house to make it a haunt? Yep. I think we cover, and Margot, we know yours, you've got to find a way to deal with that. And are you going to try to deal with Palmer? Are you really going to try to punish him?
He doesn't deserve anything less. I mean, hitting on women right after
Their loved ones
died, and also knowing how much of a dick tip he is.
A dick tip. That's good.
Just know Alexis has her back on that because that's some bullshit.
That's a new one, a dick tip. Damn. Damn. And I'm going to, Mr. Cultish, you said Wraith or Geist. I've never played Geist.
No.
Never read it, haven't played it, don't know a thing about it. So I have to say Wraith. But on that same subject about Wraith and Geist, my Wraith game has splats from, or info from a lot of others. Pentex is not normally part of a Wraith game.
Mm-mm.
They are in mine. Because
didn't Project Orpheus, didn't that come from Geist?
No, Project Orpheus came from its own book, Orpheus, which was supposed to occur after the last great maelstrom that destroyed
so we've imported that into
ours. Product line, because that was how they ended Wraith, and Orpheus was a limited run set with it. But I've incorporated that in too because I like the idea of it.
It's a good nebulous enemy.
So yeah, all the World of Darkness and even some of the Promethean, those kind of things from and Orpheus, that all is related to my my canon. Just like Windy City is existing in the same world as Wraith Life Derailed, same as DC by Night happened. This is all one world that I'm running. So you'll see some crossovers between them. Now, I will say you won't see much Fae, and you won't see much mages because, well, mages break everything, and I'm not a big changeling person. So that's just how I am. But a lot of the other stuff that may or not be related will tie into it.
And Artemis asks, would you ever play a new World of Darkness game, or are you strictly old World of Darkness? The new World of Darkness being like Chronicles and things like that.
I know one person at this table is in a Chronicles type game.
Mm-hmm.
Margo's in it on Tuesday nights at 8 p.m. on Haunted Chronicles, which is our Chronicles of Darkness stream. Personally, me, I don't enjoy playing mortals in a supernatural world. If I'm going to play any of those, I will play as something supernatural. I will say I have thought of doing a Vampire Dark Ages, moving it to 5th edition and running one because it's fascinating to me as that. But other than that, I'm not a big Chronicles of Darkness, though I will use bits from them. The Strix I used in DC by Night were taken from Chronicles of Darkness. Requiem, which is Chronicles stuff.
New World of Darkness.
Yeah, New World of Darkness stuff. I like to use some of the bits from them. I have no problem picking and choosing from the editions and from New World, Old World, whatever class, whatever you want to call it. I have no problems taking parts from them and using them in my game because I want to tell a good story.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, Lachote, Orpheus is in Wraith 20 as appendix, but it's not the same as the book because I've read Orpheus.
Mm-hmm. I've also guested in the Hana Chronicles that we run on Tuesday nights. It was fun, but I will say that generally speaking, if I'm playing a mortal in a supernatural game, it's not as fun to me as playing the supernatural being. Playing the supernatural being is just more fun for me. I get more satisfaction out of it. If I play a mortal, it needs to be in a different system because World of Darkness is designed for supernatural shit. So,
and I know Lance has never played in a Chronicles game. I don't know if he would or not. That's his thing. Lance seems to be up for anything, I've noticed, just to try new games.
Yeah, I'd try it.
I think actually, I figured you out. It's not the games, it's the people you're playing with. You'll try any game with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that's true. That makes all the difference in the world.
It really does.
Yep.
It really does.
Talking about some of the other games, I do plan to eventually stream Demon the Fallen because I would love to do. It won't be a full chronicle; it'll probably be 4 or 5 episodes. But I will
Like
do
a mini series,
a little mini series of Demon the Fallen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Excited
looking at
for that.
Prometheum. I want to do a Prometheus. I want to do one Prometheus the Created. I want to do that at some point. And I also
And Mummy.
plan to do a Mummy. All of these are going to be, up to 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm. 4 or 5.
Yeah, 4 or 5, because these are all parts of the World of Darkness I haven't played before. And there are also ones I don't see played as often. And one of the things, part of the reason I decided to do Wraith is because I like to stream things other people aren't doing. And while there's 1 or 2 mummies, it's not nearly as often as you see other things. So, and Demon, you just don't see.
You just don't see it.
Yeah. So I want to try to do things that other people aren't doing because that's what I like to do. Because it expands everybody's horizons and makes the hobby better as a whole.
Absolutely. So, looking, I think, Danny Ducat might have had feelings. Yeah, Alexis might have had some feelings for Buchanan. I mean, they spent a long time together as partners, but might have had feelings, but yet she wasn't ever going to act on them while she was married. But yeah, so any other questions from the viewers?
And Artemis Artemis Lee CA, here's the thing. You know how it is. You're on our Discord. When I decide to do Demon and I decide to do these other ones, we cast directly from the Discord. So if you're on our Discord, when I post the casting call, you can apply. And that's how it is. And those who know, we try to give a lot more people a chance than normal. We try to make different streams with different players to do different dynamics. So seeing as you're not in a bunch of our other streams, there's a good chance you might get in on it.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Relin and Lance always have a spot, Relin and Urian, because they are the other part of the McStabbers. They're the 2 other McStabbers, technically. So they always have a spot in my games. But other than that, I try to vary the people as much as I can to give other people a chance to play with us.
And Hana Chronicles there is Tamshu, who plays Alexis's shadow. We could get Buchanan killed for you. Alexis is going to do what she typically does with the cunt in her head and just duly ignore her.
And for those that aren't as familiar with our Wraith, we do pre-record our Wraith episodes because the nature of Wraith, we haven't had to stop recording mid-episode yet because of needing a break, but the nature of Wraith with its high emotional content and the fact that it's a game on emotion, we have to have the ability to stop what we're doing for red cards or for yellow discussions. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that without making the viewers have to deal with it all the time is if we pre-record. But it also means we are all in chat normally, or most of us are in chat as often as we can when the episode airs, and you get to interact with the cast while the episode airs, which adds another community building part of it. So
I have one question for everybody here. How excited are y'all that we finally get to play again tomorrow?
Awesome. I'm really been looking forward to it. Yes.
Just so excited.
I'm hoping I can continue. I always have imposter syndrome, so my imposter syndrome part of me is telling me, can I pull off what I did last season?
Absolutely.
Well,
you have an amazing cast. You can do it.
But my imposter syndrome says, can we?
Learn to trust in the talents at your table.
Oh, I plan to. And we will see. But it's one of those things that I can't, my imposter syndrome says, can I do it? And we will see. I'll give it my best.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions from chat, then we will go ahead and do our closing.
Yeah, I think that covers. We got to give him about 15 seconds on that, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Danny Ducat, we don't all do vampire. I try to vary up, and I will say I've made no secret of it. I never thought I would run or play a Wraith game. Mm-hmm. I never thought I could find the players. I never thought I was good enough because it is not a simple game to run or to play. And turns out
We had
We did.
how many people apply? Was it like 20?
No, we had, for this one, we only had 14.
14.
Because it was Wraith.
Yeah.
But it was also, we've got a lot more people join our Discord because of Wraith.
We sure have. And we thank you all for catching it on YouTube and joining us on Discord and really being hyped about, seeing the next season after watching the first season. Because we were all nervous going into this, not knowing if we could all pull it off. Because Wraith is an advanced game. Mm-hmm. It really is. I mean, you're managing two characters that you have to role play differently and accurately, and you're having to keep track of a lot of stuff for two characters. It is hard mode gaming. So the fact that we were all nervous and just thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know if we can do this. And then once we got to play and it was just so much fun, we kind of, just enjoyed ourselves. But then you guys enjoyed it too. And it was like, oh my God, this is fantastic.
I do realize that if we did a casting call now for Wraith, we would have a lot more than 14 because a lot of people have joined the Discord because of Wraith. On the subject of guests, it's unfortunate to say this, but I will not have guests in the Wraith game. And that is simply because of the nature of the game and the amount of trust you have to have at the table. And it's not fair to the players here with the dynamic we have set up to introduce a guest, unfortunately. I'm not saying I may not do at some point a one shot,
right?
As a side story or something. Maybe
to do.
I don't know yet. I haven't decided, but I can say I can't have guests with this one because the nature of the game and the nature of the table and the trust levels it's not something I want to mess around with. I don't want to risk any kind of issues at the table with it. It's just because that's the nature.
Ravinia there really, really nailed it on the head. It takes a high level of emotional maturity to play this game. It really does, because you can't take what shadows do personally.
And I know our Discord has there's a lot of people with emotional maturity, but this is one of the games. I love guests in Vampire because I like to shake up the table dynamic.
I wasn't finished.
I'm sorry, but okay, go ahead.
But not only does it take that, it does take a high level of trust. And that's something that you build through experience with each other. And in a game like this, throwing someone new into the dynamic, it takes time to build that trust with someone new. So just having a random one-spot guest isn't really feasible for the dynamic that we've built for this game.
Yeah. And the dynamic in Wraith is great to shake it up because it keeps the players or vampires, keeps them out of a rut when you do vampires. With Wraith, I'm afraid that even putting a guest in would break something at the table. Mm-hmm. And the game has been so fun and good on a dynamic level with the players we have. I don't want to do
fuck that up.
Yeah. And any guest I picked would have to, honestly, every single player at the table would have to agree 100% with the guest and be comfortable. And with our recording schedule and streaming schedule, that's actually very impossible to do.
It's really tight.
Because, we have a schedule. Mm-hmm. So.
Yeah,
I know, Astro, I'd love to play with you in Wraith, but I actually set these rules before we even recorded the first episode.
Yeah.
These were the rules that were laid down when we cast the show. And just like if we have a player who leaves the show, completely leaves the Wraith stream in the show, when we go to backfill, because we will still want 6 people, it's going to be the entire table is involved in finding this replacement player. And the entire table has to say, not just the storyteller, because we don't want to break the dynamic and we don't want to break the trust that we've built here. So any guest or any replacement player would even have to go through more than I think the existing players went through for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for certain, because we want to make sure that it's someone that won't completely dismantle everything we've built.
Yep.
So
I think do we have any other questions?
I don't see any other questions.
So I think we're going to go into our outro stuff because about an hour and a half is good for a Q&A anyway.
Yeah.
First off, I want to say thank you all for coming to this, and I hope to see you all next week with the first episode unveiled, because it's going to be interesting to see how they get out of this being escorted. Please, if you join our Discord, if you want to be part of a great community, If you want to keep an eye out for be in some of our shows, that's the Discord. Talk about our shows, that's there. We just got good people, and we all love being there. I'm gonna let Relyn handle what the schedule is this week because I can never remember what's on the schedule in a given week. But if you want to see our back content or like the whole first season of Wraith, it's on our YouTube, and I'll do that while she's looking up the back content. I can actually put the YouTube link here.
Okay, thank you. So basically, we have upcoming on Saturday. So no streams for Thursday or Friday, but we do have a stream on Saturday at 3 p.m. That is the return of the main group in Ishvel. So our D&D 5e stream, and Tiss runs that game. She's amazing. It's a fun romp set in a Norse-inspired fantasy world that is using the D&D 5e system. And she's actually good there. Well, I don't know if she's going to be doing it, but someone in the cast is going to be doing a giveaway for a $50 drive-through RPG gift card. And that is at 3 p.m. Eastern on Saturday. So you'll want to tune in for that for D&D and possibly free loot from McStabber Studios to you for your awesome support of our channel and our community. And then next week coming up, because there's nothing, Vampires on hiatus right now. We're in between seasons, so there's no Sunday stream. Monday night, we will be hosting here at McStabber Studios, Tamshu and his Hunter the Vigil 2E stream called Stuffed that is actually being streamed on the Onyx Path Twitch. That's at 8 p.m. Monday. Then Tuesday is actually 7th Sea coming up, which is it's Haunted Chronicles Darker Waters, which is a fun naval adventure game. You'll want to check that out at 8 p.m. on Tuesday.
Release the Kraken.
Release the Kraken. Yes. And that's also run by Tamshu. He's a busy DM. He's a very busy DM. And then Wednesday next week, 1 week from today, Season 2, Episode 1 of Wraith Life Derailed. 8 p.m. Eastern Wednesday. So we will see you all then.
Yep. And I just want to once again say thank you to all the players and the viewers and everyone, because this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And I've enjoyed the people the Wraith enthusiasts who have joined us on the Discord. And I hope I do it justice in a way that you continue to enjoy what we're doing. Because I don't think Wraith gets enough attention.
It really doesn't. It's a fantastic game.
It's a hard game. It's not one a lot of people can run. But if you're talking story.
Such a good story.
It's a good story. And I'm hoping, to give it that attention. So
6 strangers got on a train. This is their ghost story.
Mm-hmm. So I will see you all next week at 8 p.m. Right here on McStabber Studios Twitch. And thank you all for coming. And, oh, yes, our friends. Thank you, Astro. He reminded us of our friends.
He's such a great mod.
He is. We love Astro. And he's doing it.
He keeps us on track.
And it's like 2, 3 a.m. for him. And he's still doing it, which is
still
awesome.
on his A game.
Yep. If you want to check out some great content, check out over here on our chat, right over here.
Yeah.
Macabre Derek does a vampire stream Sunday evenings. It's a really dark, emotionally visceral game. RPG Table, that's Junie, who's been talking here in the channel.
Mm-hmm.
Saturday, she does vampire. Check Junie out on the RPG Table. Her and her crew are a lot of fun. Sanguine_Knights, he's on break still. Circuit de Panda, I can never say it correctly, but Panda is one of our European people on our Discord that streams during the day. So if you have time during the day, you can watch her streams on her channel. She does art, video games, body art. She paints, does amazing stuff painting her face. It's kind of crazy. Let's see, Archives of Dragon, that is Spectre Alafetz. I believe she's also on break right now.
No, actually, they're coming back Friday.
They're coming back Friday. Awesome. So you'll get to see them. Sylvanov, as you'll notice from our stream chat numbers there at the top, he loves to come in and stab people randomly on our stream by giving them
subscriptions.
some free subscriptions. He's amazing. He's got a Prince William by Night at 7 p.m. Saturday evenings. Check out his channel for some more vampire stuff. Mm-hmm. And of course, Ravnos Archon, our newest addition to the McStabber Studio friends.
He streams all kinds of stuff.
Oh yeah, he streams all kinds of stuff. And he may get to actually be on one of the McStabber streams coming up here soon as a guest. I'm not sure yet. I know he applied for it, but I haven't heard whether he's getting to be in that spot. So that's
awesome.
We love, like I said, we like to let people who are not normally on our channel play with us.
Yeah.
That's why the Discord is what it is. So, yep. And Junie confirms, yep, back Friday. The Fae are back.
The Fae are back on Friday. Yeah, Michelle over at Archives of the Dragon, she does a Changeling, the Dreaming 20th Anniversary Edition stream. It's an ongoing chronicle. Do check that out if you get a chance, because she's great at running Changeling. She really is. I played in a 2-shot with her and absolutely had the most satisfying character arc I've ever had in a game.
Yep. So we hope to see some of you in those. We try to catch them when we can, but a lot of us can't make those because we're constantly doing other things for the back end of this. But I thank you all for coming, and we'll see you hopefully soon on another stream or on this channel.
See you next Wednesday, everybody.
Good night, everybody.